The day my sister ran away from her wedding, I was hiding in the hotel kitchen stealing macarons. Just as the cloying sweetness melted on my tongue, a commotion erupted in the front hall. Curious, I peeked out and saw my father storming toward me with a livid expression, followed by several flustered bridesmaids. "Eloan!" My father grabbed my wrist so hard I nearly cried out in pain. "Put on the wedding dress immediately. You're going on stage in 10 minutes. My eyes widened, pink macaron crumbs falling from the corner of my mouth. "What? But today is supposed to be my sister's. That wretched creature has run away." Father spat out the words through gritted teeth, the fury in his eyes almost scorching. "The Harringtons are already waiting. Listen. I didn't raise you all these years just for you to be useless. Today, you'll marry Theo in your sister's place." My whole body trembled, and the sweetness in my throat suddenly turned bitter. As the youngest daughter of the Wentworth family, I had always been treated as nothing more than a foil to my elder sister. Outsiders assumed I resented my sister and envied her excellence. But in truth, I couldn't have been more grateful to have an elder sister above me. Because I knew that being the eldest meant bearing many, many responsibilities. Like this arranged marriage with the Harringtons, it was always my sister who was considered first. I was still happily enjoying several years of freedom when, to my surprise, my sister dared to flee on her wedding day. My journey of freedom came to an abrupt halt. In the dressing room, the bridesmaids hastily helped me into my sister's wedding gown. The waist was 2 inches too big, and the hem was so long it nearly tripped me. I sighed, this wedding was utterly ridiculous. "Eloan has such fair skin, she actually suits this dress better than Selena," one bridesmaid tried to lighten the mood. I stared at the unfamiliar reflection in the mirror, where flawless makeup masked my youthful innocence. For the first time in my 22 years of life, I was being so meticulously dressed up, only to sacrifice my freedom and marry a man I had never met. "Theo, does he know there's been a change?" I whispered. Father sneered coldly, "As long as she bears the surname Wentworth." The moment I stepped into the banquet hall, the blinding lights nearly robbed me of my sight. My ears were buzzing, only faintly hearing the MC's awkward announcement, "The Wentworth family, the second young lady, Eloan." Whispers rose from the guest seats, slithering into my ears like countless venomous snakes. What's going on? Wasn't it supposed to be the eldest young lady? A last-minute replacement? How bizarre is this? Would the Harrington family, being such a prominent family, agree to this? I heard that workaholic from the Harrington family doesn't care whom he marries, whether it's the eldest or youngest daughter, makes no difference to him. I stared fixedly at my toes, the pristine white high heels adorned with the crystal decorations my sister loved so much, each step feeling like walking on knives. Then I saw him. Theo stood at the end of the red carpet, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, his expression as cold and unyielding as a sculpture. The most powerful leader of the Harrington group is said to be decisive and ruthless in legend, known as the King of Hell in the business world. I instinctively wanted to retreat, but my father subtly pushed me from behind, making me stumble forward a few steps. Theo's eyes narrowed slightly, an expression like a predator locking onto its prey. My back was instantly drenched in cold sweat, as if pinned in place by an invisible force, making even breathing difficult. The wedding procession felt like an absurd nightmare. When exchanging rings, my fingers trembled so violently that I nearly dropped the ring. Theo's palm was cold and dry, and the moment he grasped my hand, I felt like a small animal ensnared by a snake. He didn't say "I do," but merely uttered a cold "hm." At the banquet, I was placed in the bride's seat like a delicate doll. The lavish spread of delicacies before me emitted an enticing aroma, yet I dared not take a single bite. From start to finish, Theo never once glanced my way, merely entertaining the business tycoons who came to offer their congratulations while occasionally forcing a smile that never reached his eyes. "Why isn't the bride eating anything?" Suddenly, a sickly sweet female voice sounded by my ear. I looked up and saw a beautiful woman in a silver dress eyeing me curiously. Could it be nervous? I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. The gazes of everyone else at the table instantly locked onto me, making me feel like a criminal under a spotlight. She's got a slight cold. Her throat hurts. Theo suddenly spoke up, his quiet voice instantly silencing the table. His slender fingers pushed a glass of warm water toward me. Drink this. I took the water glass in surprise, my fingertips accidentally brushing against his, making me withdraw my hand as if shocked. That was the only sentence he said to me all evening. Late at night, as I sat alone on the large bed in the bridal chamber, I still felt everything was as absurd as a dream. My sister had run away from the wedding, and I ended up marrying Theo, a man who frequently appeared in financial magazines and on business channels. Theo's life story was so perfect it seemed like a meticulously crafted business myth. At 16, she was admitted to the finance department of a top domestic university on merit, completed all her credits in 3 years, and graduated early with perfect scores across all subjects. At 19, she went abroad to pursue a PhD in financial engineering, becoming the youngest quantitative analyst, managing projects with returns as high as 300%, leaving even seasoned investment bank elites in the dust. At 23, she returned to China to take over the struggling Harrington Group and, within just 2 years, increased its market value 5-fold, establishing herself as the unrivaled ruler of the most formidable business empire in the industry. His mind is chillingly composed, his decision-making is precise as a machine, and he leaves no room for opponents on the negotiating table. There's a saying in the business world, if Theo takes an interest in your project, you'd better sell it to him directly because by the time he makes a move, you won't even have the right to negotiate. Yet, such a man, who strikes terror in the hearts of businessmen, also possesses a face that's impossible to look away from. With sharp, chiseled features, deep-set eyes, stern brows, a tall nose, and a jawline as clean as if cut by a knife, he exudes an air of nobility and detachment. His eyes are especially captivating, dark as ink, as calm and fathomless as an icy pool, yet occasionally flashing with a sharpness that sends chills down the spine. But strangely, almost no one would specifically praise him for being handsome. Compared to his terrifying achievements in business, his appearance became the least remarkable of his qualities. In City A, there are countless socialites and wealthy heiresses lining up to marry him, stretching all the way abroad. Yet he never spares them a glance, leading to rumors that he might have no interest in women at all. Footsteps outside interrupted my train of thought. The door opened, and Theo's tall figure appeared in the doorway, a faint scent of alcohol lingering on him. He didn't turn on the light, just stood in the moonlight loosening his tie, the silvery light outlining his sharp profile. I clutched my dress tightly, my palms sweaty, my heart pounding so hard it might leap out of my chest. Listen, his voice was colder than I imagined. From today onwards, all you need to do is play the role of my wife. Don't do anything unnecessary. I nodded vigorously, my eyes widening uncontrollably. His slender fingers were unbuttoning his shirt, 1 button, 2 buttons, his honey-colored chest faintly visible in the moonlight. My face instantly burned, and I hurriedly averted my gaze. What are you looking at? He suddenly stopped moving, his voice laced with menace. No, no. I stuttered in reply, nearly biting my tongue. He gave a light hum and casually tossed his shirt onto the sofa, revealing the chiseled lines of his waist and abdomen. My breath hitched, and I instinctively shrank further into the corner of the bed. The sound of running water from the bathroom filled the air, and I perked up like a startled rabbit. 20 minutes later, the water stopped, and he emerged with a damp chill clinging to him, only a loosely tied towel hanging low around his hips. You. My voice trembled. Are you going to sleep on the bed? He gave me a haughty glance from above. This is my bed. Before I could react, the mattress beside me sank. He lifted the covers and climbed in, carrying the icy freshness of a post-shower chill. My body instantly tensed like a drawn bowstring, my breath held completely still. Relax, he said, eyes shut, his voice weary. I won't do anything to you tonight. I cautiously inched toward the edge of the bed, only to be intercepted by his suddenly outstretched arm. His warm palm locked around my waist, pulling me back in one firm motion. My back pressed tightly against his chest, I could clearly feel his powerful heartbeat. Keep moving, and I can't promise to keep my word from earlier. His breath brushed the back of my ear, sending a shiver down my spine. I froze in place, not even daring to blink. His body heat seeped through the thin nightgown, scaldingly intense. Sleep. He tightened his arms around me, his voice already laced with drowsiness. There's a banquet tomorrow. I lay awake until late at night, listening to his steady breathing behind me, my heart pounding like thunder. This man was like a sleeping wolf, even with his eyes closed, he made people hesitate to make any rash moves. As it turned out, my wedding night nerves were completely unnecessary. Because after that day, I could count the number of times I'd seen Theo on one hand. Time unknowingly slipped into early July. I was curled up on the sofa reading when my phone suddenly vibrated. A familiar name popped up on the screen, Jay, my classmate and the department's renowned prodigy. Hello? I answered the phone softly, instinctively glancing towards the study. Theo was unusually working from home today, and that door had remained tightly shut. Eloan. You finally answered the phone. Jay's voice was full of energy. Tomorrow the department is organizing a pre-graduation gathering at Blue Toon Club. You must come. Everyone's waiting for you. I bit my lip. Ever since I had to marry Theo in place of my sister, I had barely kept in touch with my classmates. Apart from necessary graduation procedures that required me to go to school, I had been doing my best to avoid my former peers. Theo never questioned my social activities, but I also understood that as Mrs. Theo, I shouldn't casually appear in public. I might not be very convenient. Come on. Jay grew anxious. You got recommended for graduate school. We wanted to celebrate for you. Eloan, these past few months, has something happened? If you're facing any difficulties, you must tell me. Nothing happened, I'm doing just fine. You're being so mysterious, we thought you might have gotten married on the sly. I nearly choked on my own saliva. Married? It's true that I am, but apart from family and the Harrington circle, no one knows. All right. I'll go. I finally agreed. After hanging up the phone, I raised my head and my heart suddenly skipped a beat. Theo was standing at the study door without me noticing. His tall figure leaned against the doorframe, holding a coffee cup, his gaze fixed heavily on me. Whose call was it? His tone was calm, but for some reason, it made me nervous. A classmate, inviting me to a graduation reunion tomorrow. I answered honestly. He took a sip of coffee and narrowed his dark eyes slightly. They didn't know you were married? I don't know. The air froze for a moment. Where's the gathering location? Huh? Oh, it's near our school, a newly opened place called Blue Note Club. It shouldn't be too late, can I go? Just when I thought he would stop me, in the end, he simply gave a faint and turned back to his study. The next evening, I went to the blues club wearing a simple white dress. As I pushed the door open and entered the private room, my classmates cheered and gathered around, chattering complaints about my recent elusive behavior. Eloan. Could it be you're in a relationship? My roommate bumped my shoulder with a mischievous grin. I forced a laugh, not daring to respond. Jay sat beside me, occasionally passing me drinks and fruits with a gaze so tender it made me slightly uneasy. When the party was halfway through, someone suggested going to the karaoke area to sing, and everyone clamored to push me onto the stage. Eloan was the champion of the campus singing competition back then. You've got to sing one. Unable to refuse, I reluctantly picked a lyrical song. As the music started, I gradually relaxed, closing my eyes and letting the melody flow. Until the last note fell, I opened my eyes. Then, my entire body froze in place. At the entrance of the private room, Theo leaned lazily against the doorframe in a black suit, his gaze fixed directly on me. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes were like a wolf locking onto its prey. Before I could react, Jay suddenly rushed onto the stage, knelt on one knee, and held up a bouquet of roses that seemed to appear out of nowhere, shouting loudly. Eloan. I've liked you for a long time. Can you give me a chance to be my girlfriend? The entire venue erupted, instantly boiling over with screams nearly lifting the roof. My mind a blank, mouth opened, about to refuse. A slender hand abruptly clamped around my waist, enveloping me in a familiar yet strange, icy aura. Theo had somehow appeared behind me, his chest pressed against my back, his thin lips close to my ear, speaking in a voice neither too loud nor too soft. "You sing well, wife." The entire room fell into a sudden dead silence. Jay's face instantly turned pale. "Wife?" Theo's lips curled slightly at the corners, but his gaze was chillingly cold. He leisurely scanned the room, his eyes finally settling on my stunned face. His thumb lightly traced my waist as he spoke in a tone that was both dangerous and suggestive. "What, didn't you tell them you're already married?" I stood dumbfounded, unsure how to respond, as Theo took my hand and led me off the stage. "Apologies, everyone. It's getting late, so I'll be taking my wife home now. I've already settled the bill for all the expenses tonight." After speaking, Theo immediately pulled me out of the private room. When we returned to the villa, the air was so tense it felt almost tangible. Theo remained silent the entire way back, his slender fingers resting on the steering wheel, his knuckles faintly white from the tight grip. I shrank in the passenger seat, my heart pounding so hard it ached, breathing even the smallest breath cautiously. The moment the car stopped, he strode around to my side, yanked the door open, and stared down at me. The moonlight traced his sharp features, and those dark eyes were fathomless. "Get out of the car." His voice was hoarse. My fingers trembled, and I'd barely taken a step when he swept me up into his arms. "Theo," I gasped, instinctively grabbing his shirt. "Call me husband." He glanced down at me, his tone brooking no argument. My ears burned. I opened my mouth but couldn't make a sound. With a cold laugh, he carried me straight upstairs, kicked open the master bedroom door, and threw me onto the bed. The mattress dipped slightly as he knelt with one knee, leisurely loosening his tie while fixing me with a deep, intense gaze. "Eloan, we need to talk." I shrank back, but he grabbed my ankle and pulled me toward him. His palm was scorching hot, fingertips tracing faint circles on my skin, sending shivers down my spine. "Starting today," he leaned closer, breath brushing against my lips, "I want a proper marital relationship." My pupils constricted slightly. What do you mean?" He chuckled softly, his thumb brushing over my lower lip, including the obligations between husband and wife. My face burned as if set on fire, my heart pounding so violently it might burst from my chest. His overwhelming presence enveloped me, mingled with the faint scent of cedarwood, leaving me dizzy and disoriented. I'm not ready yet." My voice was as thin as a mosquito's hum. His gaze darkened abruptly as he gripped the back of my head, his thin lips crashing down upon mine. This kiss carried an irresistible aggression. His tongue pried open my lips, plunging deep inside and leaving my breath in disarray. My resisting hands were pinned above my head by him, my entire body pressed deep into the mattress by his solid frame. Wait," I turned my head away in protest, only to have him bite my earlobe, weakening me instantly. "That guy named Jay," his voice was hoarse as his lips wandered along the curve of my ear, "did he ever touch you here too?" I shook my head, my eyes burning hot. "No. He has nothing to do with me." He seemed satisfied and kissed me again, this time much gentler, as if soothing a frightened little animal. But when his hand slid under my clothes, I couldn't help shivering. "Afraid of me?" He slightly propped himself up, his dark eyes swirling with emotions I couldn't decipher. I bit my lip and nodded, tears slipping down uncontrollably. Theo's breath hitched as he suddenly released me and sat up. Frustrated, he tugged at his collar, his Adam's apple bobbing. "Go take a shower," he said. I froze, not expecting him to stop. "Keep looking at me like that," his eyes darkened abruptly, "and I can't promise I'll be able to stop." I hastily jumped off the bed but was called to a stop by him at the door. "Eloan," he said with his back to me, his voice low. "Starting tomorrow, everyone will know you're my wife." My heart skipped a beat as I fled in panic. In the bathroom, I stared at my reflection, swollen lips and red-rimmed eyes, while my legs still felt weak. The sensation of that kiss lingers, his warmth, his breath, even the shiver when his tongue brushed against the roof of my mouth, all hauntingly vivid. What was even more terrifying was that the moment he let go of me, I actually felt a hint of loss. Early in the morning, still half asleep, I felt the mattress beside me dip slightly. "Get up." Theo's deep voice sounded beside my ear, carrying that distinctive morning hoarseness. I groggily opened my eyes only to meet his handsome face right in front of me. He was wearing a perfectly tailored black suit, but his tie wasn't tied yet, hanging loosely around his neck, revealing a glimpse of his sexy collarbone. "Starting today, you're coming to the office with me." He leaned on the side of my pillow with one hand and pinched my cheek with the other. "Be my personal assistant." I instantly sobered up. "What? Unwilling?" He narrowed his eyes, his fingertips brushing lightly over my lips. "Don't remember what happened last night?" My face burned instantly. That suffocating kiss still seemed to sear on my lips. I can't work as an assistant." I stammered in protest. "I don't need you to know how." He flipped my blanket aside and scooped me up despite my startled cry. At the Harrington Group headquarters, in the top-floor CEO's office. I sat stiffly on Theo's lap, feeling like I was about to catch fire. His arm was wrapped around my waist, his chin resting on my shoulder, his breath tickling the back of my ear, making me itch to escape yet too afraid to move. "Sir, this document requires your..." The secretary pushed the door open and froze at the sight before him. "Leave it on the desk," Theo said without looking up, twirling a strand of my hair between his fingers. After the secretary shuffled out awkwardly, I finally couldn't hold back. "Could you not act like this? Everyone is staring." "Staring at what?" He chuckled, suddenly turning my face to his and kissing me deeply. The kiss was intense and urgent, only breaking when I was gasping for air. "Now they know what they were staring at." He licked his lips with lingering satisfaction. My wife. Soon, gossip spread throughout the company. The aloof and abstinent CEO now had a sweet little assistant glued to his side all day, clearly a seductive mistress. In the break room, as I was about to pour myself some coffee, I overheard a few female employees gossiping. "I heard that woman doesn't even know how to make copies. All she does all day is run to the CEO's office." "No kidding. Yesterday when I delivered some documents, I saw her sitting on the CEO's lap." TSK, the CEO hasn't even been married for long, and he's already keeping someone on the side. My hand trembled slightly, and the coffee cup fell to the ground with a sharp clatter. "Enough talk?" A chilling voice suddenly came from behind. Theo stood at the door at some point, his face terrifyingly dark. The female employees instantly turned pale. "President." He strode over, pulled me into his arms, and kissed my lips in front of everyone. The kiss was both domineering and lingering, and he only let go when my legs went weak. "Let me introduce," he glanced around, his voice cold. "My wife, Eloan." The entire room fell silent. "Did you bring your ID?" Theo suddenly asked me one morning. I did. "Why?" He took my hand and pulled me outside. "Let's get married." I froze in place. "What certificate are we getting?" "The marriage certificate." He turned to look at me, his brow slightly furrowed. "Do you really want to remain a wife without legal recognition forever?" Only then did I learn that it was a Harrington family tradition to hold the wedding before registering the marriage. Some even went their entire lives without legally registering, all for the convenience of switching partners later. When registering, the clerk handed over a prenuptial agreement. "Mr. Theo Harrington, this is your premarital asset notarization. Please review it." Theo pushed it back without even looking. "Not needed." Both the staff member and I widened our eyes in shock. "Are you crazy?" I whispered, tugging at his sleeve. "What if you..." "What if what?" He narrowed his eyes dangerously. "Are you planning to divorce me? I mean, what if there's someone else you like?" He suddenly grabbed my chin, speaking word by word. Eloan, listen to me carefully. In this lifetime Theo, will only have you as my woman. If the day comes when I change my heart, you can take half of my wealth. Is that sincere enough for you? My heart skipped a beat. The night we got our marriage certificate, Theo took me to one of his regular restaurants to celebrate. A familiar figure suddenly appeared at our table. Sister? My fork clattered onto the plate. Selena had lost much weight, her face pale yet still beautiful. Without even glancing at me, she spoke directly to Theo. Theo, I'm back. Theo wiped his mouth expressionlessly. What do you want? It was wrong of me to run away from the wedding. Selena's eyes welled up with tears. But I was sick at the time, and I was afraid your family would call off the engagement if they found out, But now I'm cured, and we can start over. Impossible. Theo cut her off, taking my hand. Your sister and I are already married. Only then did Selena look at me, her eyes filled with disbelief. How is that possible? Your Harrington family has always. It was you who ran away from the marriage first. Now, Eloan is my wife. Wife. Selena suddenly laughed, pulling out a document from her bag. But as far as I know, the Harrington family has a rule: the eldest son must marry the eldest daughter of the Wentworth family. So what if you've registered your marriage? As long as I return, this marriage is invalid. Theo's eyes turned cold. Who told you that? That doesn't matter, Selena said smugly, tilting her chin up. What's important is, Theo, you're destined to be mine. The atmosphere instantly froze to the freezing point. Theo slowly stood up, looking down at Selena with a voice as cold as a blade. Then I'll tell you right now, the Harrington family, I'm in charge. Who to marry or not to marry, that's my decision. Selena exploded into our lives like a bomb, instantly shattering the fragile peace Theo and I had worked so hard to build. She held that so-called Harrington family rules document in her hand, standing proudly before us as if victory was already assured. Eloan, do you think everything will be simple just because you got married? She sneered. The Harrington family's rules aren't so easily broken. I clenched my fingers, my nails almost digging into my palms. Theo sensed my unease and covered the back of my hand with his large palm, his fingertips gently stroking as if silently comforting me. He lifted his gaze to Selena, his eyes chillingly cold. Selena, are you hard of hearing? I've already said that in the Harrington family now, I call the shots. Selena's expression faltered slightly, but she quickly lifted her chin again. Theo, are you really going to defy family tradition for her? Tradition? Theo scoffed, his eyes filled with mockery. The Harrington family tradition is putting interests above all else. And right now, my greatest interest is Eloan. He stood up, looking down at her with a low and dangerous voice. If you dare disturb us again, I won't hesitate to make you disappear for good. Selena's face instantly turned pale. True to his word, Selena never appeared again after that day. Theo kept his promise. Not only did he publicly acknowledge our marital relationship, but he even announced it boldly to the media: there is only one Mrs. Theo for me, and that will never change in this lifetime. Later, someone asked Theo why he had chosen me so decisively. He looked at me, the corner of his lips lifting slightly, and said, because she's Eloan. And I finally understood that the most beautiful love is not love at first sight, but an unexpected encounter written in the stars. The kindest compensation fate could offer was turning that once forced marriage into a lifetime of willing commitment. The day my sister ran from the wedding, I thought I had lost my freedom. Little did I know, I'd gained the whole world instead.